Friends, gather round, for we have ourselves a doozy. On March 20th, 2025, your friend and mine, President Donald J. Trump, put pen to paper and signed an executive order. This wasn't just any order, no sir. This was an order that sent shockwaves through the hallowed halls of American education. With a stroke, Trump set in motion a plan to abolish the Department of Education. That's right, folks. The department responsible for ensuring quality education for all, gone, kaput, out of here. Now I know what you're thinking, John, is this legal? Is he allowed to do that? Well, the answer, as with most things Trump, is complicated. The executive order is just the first step in a long and winding road. To completely dismantle the department, Trump needs Congress to sign off on it. And let me tell you, getting Congress to agree on anything is like herding cats. So buckle up, Buttercup, this is gonna be a bumpy ride. The Trump administration is singing a familiar tune states' rights. They argue that education is best handled at the local level, closer to the people it impacts. It's a classic case of Washington, stay out of our classrooms. They claim that by returning control to the states, we can unleash a tidal wave of innovation and tailor education to the unique needs of each community. Of course, critics argue this is just a fancy way of saying, let's gut funding for public education and leave it up to individual states to decide if they even want to bother. And let's be honest, folks, some states have a better track record than others when it comes to education. This move has the potential to exacerbate existing inequalities and leave vulnerable students behind. It's a gamble, and the stakes couldn't be higher. The Trump administration has a laundry list of complaints against the Department of Education. They say it's bloated, ineffective, and more concerned with pushing a radical agenda than actually educating children. They point to stagnant test scores and rising costs as evidence that the department is failing our kids. They rail against what they see as federal overreach into local schools. And let's not forget their favorite boogeyman critical race theory. Now there's no denying that the US education system has its problems. But are these problems really the fault of the Department of Education? Or are they symptoms of larger societal issues like poverty, inequality, and a lack of investment in our children? It's a complex issue, but one thing's for sure. Simply dismantling the department without a clear plan for what comes next is a recipe for chaos. Behind the political posturing and the ideological battles are real people whose lives are being upended by this decision. Thousands of Department of Education employees are facing an uncertain future. Many have already received pink slips, their careers abruptly cut short. Others are left wondering if their jobs will still exist next week, next month, or next year. These are teachers, administrators, researchers, and support staff who dedicated their lives to improving education for all Americans. They are the unsung heroes of our education system, and they're being treated like pawns in a political game. The human cost of this decision cannot be ignored. Section 5. The road ahead, a bumpy ride through Congress. As we've established, Trump can't just wave a magic wand and make the Department of Education disappear. He needs Congress to play ball. And let me tell you folks, the chances of that happening are about as likely as me winning a Grammy for my singing voice. The Democrats, who control the House of Representatives, are vehemently opposed to dismantling the department. They see it as a crucial safeguard for equity and opportunity in education. Even some Republicans are hesitant to go along with Trump's plan. They worry about the political fallout of being seen as anti-education. So, unless Trump can pull off a miracle and convince enough Democrats to side with him, the Department of Education is likely to survive this latest assault. Section 6. Funding and limbo uncertainty looms for key programs. The big question on everyone's mind is what happens to all the programs and services currently funded by the Department of Education? Will they simply vanish into thin air? The Trump administration insists that essential programs like Title I funding for low-income schools and special education services will be protected. They claim that this is about streamlining bureaucracy, not cutting funding for vulnerable students. But critics aren't so sure. They argue that without the Department of Education to oversee these programs and ensure accountability, there's no guarantee that the money will actually reach the students who need it most. It's a recipe for chaos and confusion, and the ones who will suffer the most are the students who are already the most disadvantaged. Section 7. The DEI debacle, a battle over values in education. This wouldn't be a Trump-era education policy without a healthy dose of culture war. Tucked away in the executive order is a provision that has progressives seeing red: a ban on federal funding for any programs or activities promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's right, folks. In the eyes of the Trump administration, teaching kids about tolerance and understanding is apparently a bridge too far. They claim these programs are divisive and promote a radical left-wing agenda. This is just the latest salvo in the ongoing battle over what values should be taught in our schools. It's a battle that pits those who believe in creating a more just and equitable society against those who cling to a nostalgic vision of a homogeneous America that never truly existed. And sadly, it's a battle that shows no signs of abating anytime soon. Section 8. Legal challenges loom, a familiar story of executive overreach. If there's one thing we've learned about the Trump administration, it's that they love a good legal battle. And this executive order is already facing a barrage of lawsuits from civil rights groups, teachers' unions, and state attorneys general. They argue that Trump has overstepped his authority and that dismantling the Department of Education requires an act of Congress, not just a presidential decree. Given the Trump administration's track record on executive orders, it's highly likely that this one will end up tied up in court for years to come. The fate of the Department of Education, and indeed the future of American education, hangs in the balance. Buckle up, folks, this is going to be a long one. Section 9, Public Opinion Divided, a Nation Grapples with Educational Reform. So, what do the American people make of all this? Well, as with most things in our deeply divided nation, public opinion is split right down the middle. Polls show that a slim majority of Americans actually oppose eliminating the Department of Education. They see it as a vital part of ensuring quality education for all children, regardless of their zip code or background. But there's a significant portion of the population, particularly among Republicans in Trump's base, who support the move. They view the department as bloated, ineffective, and beholden to special interests. This debate reflects a larger national conversation about the role of government in education. It's a conversation that has been going on for decades, and one that is likely to continue long after Trump has left the White House.